In a luxurious house by the ocean, with floor-to-ceiling windows and a view of a white cliff, Jonathan Clark, a 40-year-old hotel magnate, found himself a prisoner of his own cunning. At first glance, his life was impeccable: money, power, prestige. But behind all this lay an anxiety, a fear of whether his fiancée, Christina, truly loved him or merely his fortune. To learn the truth, Jonathan took a desperate step. He staged a car accident and pretended to be paralyzed. At first, everything went as he had expected. Christina kept her composure. She tenderly straightened his blanket, brought him tea, and smiled in front of the servants. But genuine care rarely stands the test of time. Within a week, her fatigue and irritation began to show through the mask. She would sigh heavily when passing his chair, refuse to have long conversations with him, and increasingly spend hours on her phone or laptop, complaining to her friends that she was trapped in a gilded cage. The turning point was the arrival of a caretaker in the house. Emma did not come as hired staff but rather like a quiet guest who knew how to be present without intruding on one's space. She brought into the room the smell of fresh pastries and morning coffee, told stories from her previous work, and read books aloud to Jonathan. Most importantly, she never looked at him as a burden. In her eyes, he was a man with a past, a character, and a strength that circumstances had only temporarily concealed. Gradually, the contrast between the two women became stark. Christina lived by her whims. She demanded new dresses, parties, and trips. She was irritated that Jonathan could no longer accompany her to receptions. Emma, however, filled the house with warmth. She talked with him about his childhood, listened to his plans, and sometimes even argued with him, making him laugh after weeks of sullen silence. The climax came one evening when Christina, furious, demanded compensation for her shattered future. She loudly listed her demands: the oceanfront house, several $1 million, and guarantees for a future life without the burden. At that moment, Jonathan, looking straight into her eyes, slowly rose from his chair. Her scream was cut short. The mask of the caring fiancé had fallen away, revealing naked greed. The next morning, Christina left his house, leaving behind only the scent of expensive perfume and the marks of her high heels on the marble floor. For the first time in a long while, Jonathan breathed deeply. He was not alone. Emma was by his side. But their story did not turn into an instant romantic fairy tale. Jonathan, taught by bitter experience, did not seek solace in a new attachment. Instead, he offered Emma something greater: support for her dream. She had long wanted to create an assistance agency for the elderly and sick, where people would feel respect, not pity. He invested his money and expertise into her project, and she contributed her soul and honesty. Their union began as a partnership. They worked together, argued, overcame difficulties, laughed at their mistakes, and rejoiced in their successes. Over time, a trust grew between them, stronger than passion and more resilient than a whim. And only years later, when life itself had smoothed the rough edges, a quiet, mature love was born from this trust, a love without games or tests, based on respect and a shared dream. Now, sitting on the terrace of that same house by the ocean, Jonathan and Emma looked at the white cliff. For him, it was a symbol, a reminder that even the coldest stones can retain warmth if there is someone nearby who believes in you unconditionally.